Well, Henri Nouwen's books have helped millions of readers deepen their relationship with God through honesty, humility, and prayer. In Encountering Henri, the living legacy of Henri Nouwen, readers are invited to rediscover the wisdom and the spiritual insight that continue to shape lives today. Stephen Lazarus joins us now to discuss this new book, all the way from Toronto, and the lasting impact of Henri Nouwen's work. Stephen, how are you from Toronto?
It's great to join you both, Jay and Kevin. Happy to be here today.
Well,
Yeah,
while you're up there, if you see any of our great friends at Salt and Light Television, they're wonderful. Make sure you tell them Catholic TV says hi to them.
I will bring your greetings for sure.
Can you give us just a quick overview of Henry and why he's still influential today?
Sure. So, I mean, a lot of your viewers probably know Henry Nouwen. May have encountered him through. Well, they could have read his books or heard his name in a homily, or maybe a lot of times today people are seeing his name or a devotion by him on their smartphone. But he was a pastor, a priest, a professor. Taught at Notre Dame University, originally from Holland, the Netherlands, came to the U.S. Where most of his life in ministry was, and then came to Canada for the last 10 years of his life, just north of Toronto here, and served at L'Arche Daybreak. But he wrote over 40 books. Some of the most well-known, would be Return of the Prodigal Son, the Genesee Diary, for example, a book called Compassion. But one of the most really widely read spiritual writers of our time, and a man of deep faith. I would say that his great gift, and really his great struggle at the same time, was how do we encounter the love of God, not just sort of as a head thing, but he would talk about how do we let that descend from our head to our heart to our whole self. So in this book, we try to bring together stories people who have been impacted by Henry's writings, and now 30 years later that continues. So those are some of the stories in the book.
I wonder if you could expand on that too. You mentioned some of the struggles that Henry had, and maybe connect with how his struggles actually can connect God with our challenges that we face every day as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think he was aware that in our time, it's really easy to feel like God is this far off, distant presence. And I think when people pick up his books and kind of read his writings, he invites us to understand that God is really as close as our next breath. In fact, God's the one giving us, breath and keeping us alive moment by moment. But beyond that, he talks about how our life itself is a very brief time for us to get to know how deeply God loves us, and to be able to hear as he talks about the voice that calls us the beloved. And I think his struggles were with things like self-rejection, and he would talk about how so often in our time today, we hear these voices, and we have to remind ourselves that we're not what we own, what we possess, what people say about us. That our deepest identity is that we're beloved children of God, and nothing can separate us from that love, as St. Paul talks about.
Stephen, the world is so different than it was 30 years ago when Henry Nouwen passed away. Why are his writings still resonating with people now?
Oh, that's a really great question, Jay. I'll just mention some of the stories in the book because those I think really help answer that question. Um, there's a fellow who was in restaurant management, sort of the service industry. He gets invited to a church where someone gives a presentation on the return of the prodigal son and Henry's book. He starts reading that, and then he starts reading more of Henry's writings, and he discerns a call to be a monk. So that's Brother Ambrose's story, and he's at Mepkin Abbey, but also a mom of three children, really busy. and so she, attends mass, begins reading Henri's books, and says, I'm gonna set out to take a year just to be with Henri, and read all these different books that he's written. And that really took her deeper in her own love of God, and really being able to receive God's love. There's a story from an emergency room nurse in there, and kind of how she discovered a real vocation to be with people, accompanying them at the end of life. But I think Henry would say that as much as the world changes, so much really remains the same. It really does come back to what life is really all about, and that is discovering how deeply loved we are by God, and allowing that to then change our lives so that we can give that love to others.
Well, if people want to learn, they only have to pick up the book, Encountering Henri, The Living Legacy of Henri Nouwen. Where can people get a copy of the book, Stephen?
Sure. I mean, so many times today, people are ordering it online. It's out there. They can go straight to Orbis Books. If they want to learn more about Henri Nouwen and all of his books, they can go to henrinouwen.org. This is the 30th anniversary of his death, and this book is one of the ways we're marking that milestone, as well as conferences. But we'd love to be a resource for your readers.
Stephen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, blessings and all the best in your great work, Jay. Great to be with you.
Thank you.